It's time once again to go racing.
It's really on now. And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
Alright. Apologies for that. Some technical issues with the microphone. Okay, my apologies. Did not realise that that was not picking up for the entire qualifying race so far. Very sorry about that, but here we are in the race itself. Thank you, Matthew, for pointing that out in chat. As right now, as you can see the order, Top Jack, Narkovic, Igor Araujo and Bryn Evans up there at the top of the order. Kevin, though, he's looking very, very lively down in P12 at the moment, all over the rear wing there of Yane Tripkov. He's going to send it to the inside on the run towards Stowe here. Not much Yane Tripkov can do about that one. Oh, but he does get the switchback. Lovely stuff from Yane there. Kevin overshooting his mark in the braking zone. And now he heads into the pit lane at the end of lap 5 for Kevin. Wonder if he has some kind of damage here. Doesn't look like it on his front wing, but maybe he's managed to pick up some other kind of damage. Unsure about that, as him and Mihaly Gaspar both into the pit lane on this lap. Meanwhile, back up at the very front, here's Narkovic with Top Jack and Igor Araujo. Still all in very much close contention with one another at this stage of the race. Kevin's going on to a set of hard tyres in the pit lane, same for Mihaly. So they're both going to try and run those hard tyres all the way through this race until the very end. As you can see, Guiza there in 7th. Just about managing to hang with the soft tyre runners, but really only just. You can see that's what 1 second of gap looks like through the S section here at Silverstone. Guiza is desperately trying to keep that beneath that 1 second margin. Does have DRS, but look at his ERS deployment. He's already down at 5% battery charge right now. That's very low indeed for this stage of the race. But out at the front, there's a change for the lead, as there's Narkovic taking it away from Top Jack. As we get towards the end of lap 5, Narkovic is now in the lead of this race, and he didn't even have to burn much battery charge to do so. Up at 84% right now. That's a very strong position for Narkovic to currently be in that Aston Martin. The Polish driver takes the lead of the race away. Just in behind him, Igor Araujo thinks about the move there on Top Jack as well. He might have shot his balls a little bit early, and now it's going to give Top Jack an opportunity. With the slipstream, he's not using his ERS. But he might have enough about him, backs out of it. Didn't want the move, had the opportunity, but didn't want to do it. Further behind, though, Danny might want to have a go at Guiza. The Brazilian driver is falling well out of DRS range of the cars ahead now. He has completely run dry on his battery. Danny has 90%, so this should be an easy move for Danny behind. I'll just adjust the audio levels here to make sure everything's okay. Hopefully that should be a little better now in terms of the audio. As you can see, Danny there, close in behind Guiza, and this should be an easy enough move then for the British driver. At his home race, breezes past Guiza and up into 7th, but the damage might already be done for these medium tyre runners. The gap that began to expand, as further up, that's Bryn Evans heading into the pit lane there, but the gap that has expanded between Gelbevand and Guiza is not going to do any favours to the likes of Danny and Fernandez. They've got a bit of an uphill battle now on that contra strategy. Let's see where Bryn Evans is going to come out of the pit lane. Down there in 11th at the moment, as he straps on a set of medium tyres for Alpine. He is the first of the front runners to pit in this race. Mihaly Gaspar's also on a fresh set of mediums, but he went from hards to mediums a lap ago, and that was already his second pit stop in this race. He is in fact on track to get lapped in the Alfa Romeo here. Kevin is also well off the back. So both of them with heavily compromised races right now. Bryn Evans with plenty of clean air out there in 12th at the moment. But let's jump back up to the front, as we'll see Top Jack and Narkovic with Igor Araujo with the box seats for the battle for this race lead. Closing in, you can see Igor actually having a really nice S section here. It's all about the exit of this one though. In through Chapel we go. It looks good, but with the DRS that Top Jack has, this might be a difficult move to pull off. Let's see, Top Jack, he's going to deploy a little bit of battery there to make sure he stays ahead of the Aston Martin behind. Further back, that's Fernandez taking a look at Guiza and finding his way comfortably past the Haas driver. And with Guiza's troubles, Red Sox has also closed right back in on this set of drivers. Igor Araujo, he is the next of the front runners to pit from third. He is in the pit lane for a set of medium tyres. Back up the front, look at Top Jack. Very close still, nailed to that gearbox of Narkovic. Ever since the pole got past him, Top Jack has been right there with him every step of the way, hoping to leapfrog him probably on this lap before he can head into the pit lane. The battery state is looking very good for Narkovic right now, and that is definitely something that he'll be very happy about. Let's take a look at this pit exit then for Igor Araujo. There's Bryn Evans. You saw him on the left-hand side. And there you can see Bryn just managing to leapfrog Igor Araujo in the pit lane. So this is bad news for both Narkovic and Top Jack here, because they are going to be very vulnerable to both Bryn Evans and Igor Araujo himself, because the undercut is potent here in Silverstone. Back up towards the front. Top Jack. I'm expecting Top Jack to try and make a move through Stowe here, but he's a little bit too far behind Narkovic, I think, to try and get past. He'd love to have track position on the way into the pit lane. You can see Narkovic already thinking about going defensive into Stowe. Top Jack can't send it around the outside. Narkovic maybe defending fresh air a little bit there, but they are going to both dive into the pit lane now to try and evade the undercut from Bryn Evans and Igor Araujo. Higgsy stays out, so does Geldervand. They will be the two remaining front runners on those soft tyres as we enter lap 9 of the British Grand Prix. Higgsy sets the fastest lap of the race as he does so, though, so he might well be in a decent spot. And there's Igor Araujo getting past Bryn Evans. Slipstream and DRS, nothing that Bryn Evans could do to hold Igor Araujo back on that occasion. And now it's going to be critical to see where these two drivers come out relative to those that have just pit. Our race leaders, erstwhile race leaders, Narkovic and Top Jack, they're still in the pit lane. Watch the pit exit here. This could be incredibly close between the two Aston Martins. As there you see it, look at that. Oh, and it's so close in behind. Bryn Evans there with Narkovic and just manages to pull off the wall of death around the outside of turn 3. And that's Narkovic dropped down into what is effectively third position in this race. Top Jack down to 4th. These were the two race leaders a lap ago, and now they find themselves behind Igor Araujo and Bryn Evans. Great use of the undercut there from those two drivers, but have they forced themselves onto medium tyres too early? That is the question, and that's what Narkovic and Top Jack will be hoping for. They'll be hoping these mediums will struggle towards the end of the race for Bryn Evans and Igor Araujo. Let's take a look at the actual race leaders for the time being. Higgsy, who dives into the pit lane. Be very interesting to see where Higgsy is going to come out, because his pace was really strong on his in-lap. So he might stand a chance of still being with this train of drivers. Geldervan, though, staying out an extra lap on his softs. I can't imagine that's the right decision for the German. He already has a penalty to his name as well, so that's going to hinder him as the race goes on. You can see just how close these 4 drivers are right now. You can basically throw a blank over all of them. There's Top Jack trying to go around the outside in the braking zone, losing the car completely into the gravel, into the grass, and cutting the track to rejoin in about a timely fashion. I wouldn't say it was a dangerous rejoin from Top Jack, but he was out of control entirely in that braking zone. Where's Higgsy? He is going to get ahead of Top Jack, and he might get ahead of Narkovic as well. Narkovic, no, brakes later into turn 3, but because of that mistake for Top Jack, he loses out to Higgsy, who moves himself up into 8th position, or what is currently 8th position. But there's a fair few drivers ahead of them: Geldervan, Danny, Fernandez, and Guiza, who are all yet to pit in this race. This is effectively your battle for what will ultimately be the win in this race. And at the moment is Igor Araujo in that British Racing Green Aston Martin at Silverstone, who leads the way. Fernandez and Danico are battling into Stowe. Fernandez manages to get ahead then of the Mercedes driver. Geldervan finally does dive into the pit lane. And Mihaly Gaspar sets the fastest lap of this race down in 14th. Would you look at that? It's been a really rough time at Silverstone here for Mihaly. But that lap time shows that he has the pace. In qualifying, he didn't manage to string a single clean lap together, didn't end up with a lap time registered on the board at all. But now, as you can see, he does have pace, it's just the consistency that he lacks. He is currently almost a lap off the back of the field though, so no matter how fast he goes, it's not going to be fast enough as Narkovic now takes away that fastest lap. And Gelbavand in the pit lane, he's going to filter out not too far behind these guys, even with a couple of extra laps. There you can see Top Jack having a go at Higgsy. Higgsy won't be too appreciative of that one. Top Jack trying to set him up now for a better run down the Wellington Straight. He's got the DRS open. Let's see them from on board. As he tries to brave it around the outside of Brooklyn's, that's a very difficult move to pull off, and you can see wheel banging on the exit. Now into Luffield we go. Will Higgsy have enough room? Oh, he's pushed off track! He's pushed off track by Top Jack, and into the wall he goes. Higgsy, just like that, is out of contention for the race win. Front wing entirely missing on that Mercedes. And to be honest, it looked like it was just an oversteer moment on the exit of the corner. It's a really slippery traction zone for Top Jack. I don't think he was intending to squeeze Higgsy into the gravel there. But he had to counter steer, had to make up for that loss of traction, and sent the Mercedes spinning round and into the wall. And I doubt Higgsy will see it as favourably as I did there. He'll be fuming in that cockpit right now. He had done a fantastic job to pull an overcut on Top Jack in this race. He had fresher tyres than anyone else in the train he was battling with, and he was definitely on for a good shout at a podium at the very least, but now that is all gone out the window. Here we have then the slightly reduced train of cars who are battling for the ultimate race win here. Igor Araujo in 4th, Bryn Evans 5th, Narkovic 6th, Top Jack 7th, and Gelbavand just about hanging on there in 8th. Currently 0.8 of a second behind. He's struggling to keep pace with these front runners right now, and he has that penalty to his name. Let's not forget about that. That's going to be a big factor once he gets to the end of this one. And of course, it's a very, very long pit lane here with a very low speed limit. So even though there's about 21.5 seconds between Igor Araujo and this train of cars, who are currently leading the way on their old medium tyres, they are almost certainly going to lose a lot of time in that pit lane to the erstwhile front runners. But they will have softs towards the end of this race, so maybe you can't count out the likes of Fernandez, Danny, and Guiza quite yet. Let's take a look. All not doing fantastically in terms of battery charge. It would be better news for them if they did have a little bit of better battery state coming towards the very end of this race. But nevertheless, as we can see, just take a look at the stops. Both Higgsy and Mihaly Gaspar at the very back. 2 stops for them. And it's only Fernandez, Danny, and Guiza who are yet to stop in this race. Gelbavand, after I said that he was struggling to keep pace with these front runners, he sets the fastest lap of the race there in the Red Bull. So evidently he's not struggling that much for overall pace. And you can see he's actually closed well in on Top Jack ahead. There's Bryn Evans, not looking to make a move quite yet. Comfortable to let Igor Araujo lead the way to drag this DRS train of cars around the circuit a few more times before he feels like trying to pull a move on the Aston Martin driver. You can see Igor almost running wide through Cops there. No such mistake for Bryn Evans. And all of these guys have managed to avoid any corner-cutting penalties so far. Only Gelbavand in this train of cars has a penalty to his name. And that is an impressive feat, honestly. It's a difficult thing to do here in Silverstone, to avoid those corner-cutting warnings. But these guys are making it look simple out here in PCF4 of PSGL. They're also currently closing in on the train of cars who haven't pit yet. Fernandez, Danny, and Guiza. Those guys, they've lost about a second over the course of that last lap compared to Igor Araujo, just in behind them by 20.7 seconds right now. But of course, with those 3 yet to pit, that gap means nothing. let's see then Narkovic. He was very close behind Bryn Evans into Village there. Might have got a little bit too close. He's lost a bit of time on the run down towards Brooklands. You can see Bryn still very, very close behind Igor Raujo up front as well. As this battle looks set to continue for a little while. So let's jump to somewhere else where we might be seeing a little bit more overtaking for the time being. Here's Kevin. Currently sitting second in the championship. Had his race pretty heavily compromised though. He's battling with his KTF stablemate Fass over 11th and 12th positions. Outside of the points for now. But if one more driver falls by the wayside in this one, they will be battling over at least one championship point. As actually has been a change for the lead because Fernandez and Guiza are both heading into the pit lane. So that'll be interesting to see where they're going to come out. How far behind this train of cars we see here, how far behind they're going to be when they come out of the pit lane. As there you can see them very clearly on circuit. Soft tyres on for Fernandez, soft tyres on for Guiza. The McLaren and the Haas will be exiting the pit lane well behind this train, but with a better, fresher set of tyres on their car to the end of this race. So don't count them out just yet. As we have 12 laps to go here in the British Grand Prix. Lap 15 of 26. Past halfway. And these guys have all kept it very calm out at the front of the race. There's been a couple of overtakes, but really, in general, they have been very cool and collected. Further back, that was Red Tox getting passed by Fernandez. Fernandez making light work then of the Ferrari driver, and that is exactly what these guys need to do on their soft tyres. Now, Fernandez has clean air all the way to Gelbevand in 6th, and that is the train of cars that Fernandez needs to begin to associate himself with in the coming laps. Guiza here, he'll be very keen to try and get past Red Sox as well. The longer he stays behind the Ferrari driver, the further away he's going to fall relative to Fernandez, and the less time he's going to have to try and catch up with those who will be leading the race now that Danny is heading to the pit lane. Look how close they are right now. And Bryn Evans, what's he using? He's got better battery charge than the guys around him right now. So that could make all the difference in the final few laps for Bryn Evans. He might well be the leading candidate to win this race. Top Jack, our championship leader, he's struggling actually. Struggling to keep pace with these guys right now. He's down at 30% battery charge and falling away in terms of the gap compared to our front three. Gelbevand is falling away with him, but he has 90% battery. So if Gelbevand can get past Top Jack, he might be in with a shout of at least crossing the checkered flag line in a podium spot, but his penalties will surely put paid to that. Just in behind, Danico's right there with Red Sox. In fact, breezing past the Ferrari drivers. So now all three of Fernandez, Guiza and Danny have been able to get past Red Sox, and they have a clean run to Gelbevand in 5th. That is exactly what they want. And you can see Fernandez has already eaten a second into that gap to Gelbevand over the course of the last lap alone. Let's jump on board quickly with the McLaren driver as he runs very wide through cops. Stays off track for a while to avoid picking up any sort of penalty. He's down at 13% battery charge right now, so that's not going to help him too much. If he does manage to catch Gelbevand and Top Jack, he's going to struggle to make any inroads with that lack of electrical power available to him at this stage. But he is still closing down the gap between himself and those drivers, and that's the most important thing for the time being. You can see he's setting the fastest lap of the race, but Guiza takes it away from him. Guiza just in behind, not in DRS range of Fernandez, but should be able to get back within that DRS range on this next lap. Given that he was faster last time around and has more battery power, he should be able to close in to that McLaren driver and get towed along with him in a DRS train. There you go. You can see, oh, he's not actually got DRS, but he is now within a second at least of Fernandez. Back up at the front, and it's as we were. Araujo from Evans, from Narkovic, from Top Jack, and Gelbevand As they all still sit there in this train. Igor Araujo running wide through Cops there. Might have picked up a warning for that, though I believe he probably stayed off the track long enough. Let's see this from on board with Narkovic. He's got great seats to view the battle between Bryn Evans and Araujo, but Evans actually made a mistake in Maggots there, or sorry, in Beckett, and he's lost time, and now Narkovic is looking to try and capitalise. He's dumping his battery to try and do so. Bryn Evans goes later on the race and almost careens into the back of Igor Araujo. Somehow managed to keep his nose away from the rear wing of that Aston Martin, but that was very brave defence there from Bryn Evans, and he managed to hold off one Aston Martin and avoid colliding with the other. That was the first real sign of life here in terms of someone looking to try and make a move towards the front of this race. And Narkovic, in doing so, he's compromised his battery state right now. Down in 11th and 12th, Fass and Kevin, they've traded positions again, but they are still outside the points for the time being. So it's not going to matter too much what they are doing at this stage. Danny has also been able to get past Guiza for 7th position. And now he's looking to get past Fernandez for 6th. And there he goes, up the inside of Brooklyn's. Danny makes that move stick. And he's still got 70% battery power left. He is now going to be the one leading the charge to try and close down the medium tyre runners. But Fernandez, his charge had halted. He's actually fallen further back from those guys out in the front right now. Those soft tyres not working well enough on the McLaren of Fernandez. Maybe Danny will be the one to get those tyres into the proper window and to make them do the work for him. Here, though, is this same train of cars. Once again, no moves into Stowe this time around. They're all thinking about it. You know they're thinking about it, thinking about when they're going to make that move, but they're just comfortable staying as they are in this DRS train for the time being, and they've got fantastic pace out at the very front of this race. It doesn't look like Danico's really closing in on these guys very quickly either, and with only 8 laps left to go, I don't think there's going to be any chance for those soft runners to get in the mix for a podium before this race is done. So these guys, there's no urgency to try and get past unless you're Gelbavan. Gelbavan has a bit of urgency there in the Red Bull. With that penalty, if he wants to try and snag himself a podium in this race, he needs to start passing cars right now, to start disrupting this DRS train and trying to make sure that other people fall away from the DRS train, because that's the only way he's going to build a 3-second gap to any of these guys right now. He might just be looking to protect himself to Danny behind. And if so, it might be the smarter thing for him to just stick there in 5th in this train and avoid the disruption so they don't lose too much time to the soft runners behind. It's a tough decision for Gelbavan to make at this stage of the race. I'd always be wanting to go for it though if I were him. I'd always be wanting to try and get those moves done. You never know, maybe something falls your way. Maybe people start crashing into each other and spinning and you can take the race lead. All you got to do is put the cat amongst the pigeons, and that's what Gelbavan will be hoping to do towards the end of this race. As we head through Stowe for the 19th time. And for the 19th time, it feels like these guys don't feel like battling with one another. Still a very cagey affair out at the front of this race. Looks like Bryn Evans actually made a little bit of a mistake through Vale, but Narkovic wasn't able to capitalise on that occasion. Danny is closing in now, 4 seconds between himself and Gelbavan. That's 3 seconds of penalties that Gelbavan has right now. So that is the margin that he has to watch out for with Danny behind. I'm just taking a look down the rest of the order for the time being. I'll just sing out the top 10 quickly for you guys. It's Igor Araujo currently leading the way with Bryn Evans 2nd, Narkovic 3rd, Top Jack 4th, he started on pole. Gelbavan 5th, Danny, Fernandez and Guiza 6th, 7th and 8th. They all started outside the top 10, or rather Guiza started in 10th. And the other two outside that top 10. Red Tox is out. Red Tox has lost it through Luffield on the outside of Luffield. Red Tox has lost it, and we have a virtual safety car. Couldn't see it there from the camera view that we got from Yane Tripkov. But on the exit, on the outside of Luffield, that is an odd place to lose the car there for Red Sox. He was running solidly in the points there in 9th. But with that, his race is done. That brings Kevin, who's had a disastrous race and qualifying. He is now up there in that point-scoring 10th place position. This virtual safety car restart could be critical out at the front, though. Look at this. Look how close Bryn Evans is. But he's not close enough to make the move. Is Top Jack going to send one? No, he's not, but I think he might have had a go there at Narkovic. And now he's in a little bit of trouble from Gelbervan behind. On board with the Red Bull driver we go. No DRS on this part of the track. Of course, with the virtual safety car having just ended. And it really looked for a moment there like Igor Araujo might have messed up that virtual safety car restart. But it wasn't to be. He holds on to the race lead. Gelbervan makes a mistake there through the loop. And that's going to let Top Jack off the hook as well. But look behind. Danico, Fernandez and Guiza all got much closer as a result of that virtual safety car. They're now only 3 seconds behind these guys. That's terrible news for Gelbervan. He has that 3-second time penalty to contend with. And right now, he's going to lose out to Danny. And it's not long before he'll start losing out to Fernandez as well. Here we see with Bryn Evans again. Look at the battery charge. It's still in such a good situation right now for Bryn getting towards the end of this race. And this is why he's been content to avoid making the moves. He knows that he can get himself in the ideal spots resource-wise for the last few laps of this race. The last couple of laps, that's when all the moves are going to be done. As Jane Tripkov picks up a 3-second time penalty down in 9th. But that's when everything really spicy is going to happen. Right at the very end of this race, this is all going to come alive between these front 5 drivers. And just taking a look at all of their battery charge percentages, it's Gelbervan and Bryn Evans who are in the best spot. Top Jack is in the worst by quite a way, down at 33% right now. But surely this is Bryn Evans' race to lose. Even though he's in second right now, Igor Araujo has track position. But this is not the toughest track to overtake at. In fact, it's one of the easier tracks to get overtakes done. And with that level of battery advantage, you've got to feel that Bryn Evans has the upper hand going in to the final 5 laps of this race. And the question is when. The question is when and how and where Bryn Evans will want to try and make that move. He's got to watch out, though, for Narkovic behind. So if he tries to make a move and fails... Oh, Gelbervan's lost it. Gelbervan has lost it. He was following close behind Top Jack, and he looks like he's just lost the car through cops. He's got going again, but he's lost out to Danny, Fernandez, and Guiza. And finds himself down in 8th, and with that penalty, he's not going to be finishing any higher than that 8th position. So Gelbervan, that is such a shame for someone who was in a very solid position to at least battle on track with the front 5 drivers. And now he'll just have to make do with 8th position in this race. There's still a few points there for the German, but he had been hoping for a fair few more. And you can see the sparks flying off of Bryn Evans' car as we go into the loop section yet again. Bryn actually with a much wider line through the loop, trying to set himself up nicely for this Wellington straight here. And he is going to close in on Igor Araujo. But he didn't use his battery. He's still comfortable. On Luffield we go. Running in low revs through 4th all the way through there. Not wanting to dip down into the lower gears. Not wanting to risk any sort of wheel spin. Which it's so easy to do. We saw it for Higgsy earlier on, or rather we saw it for Top Jack earlier on, and that's what sent Higgsy round. Also a couple of people came a cropper there in qualifying as well, on the exit of that Luffield corner. Interestingly enough, Danny, Fernandez and Guiza, their charge still not really coming on. Every time I look at the gap between themselves and these front runners, they're just not closing them down, despite having those soft tyres on the car. And now the soft tyres are starting to fall away. And actually, that's Fernandez having a go at Danny. Danny has used a lot of his battery power, and he's vulnerable. And Fernandez realized that and took the position away. Nicely done from the Brazilian. And the musical chairs for 5th place continues once again. And there's Mihaly Gaspar on a fresh set of soft tyres, setting the fastest lap of the race. He's down in 13th for the time being. As Kevin and Fast, they're battling again. And it's once again Kevin who finds himself in 10th for the time being. These two have been going at it hammer and tongs all the way through the second stint of this race, having a good time. The mediums versus the hards. Kevin's hards, he's been on those tyres a very long time now. They're going to be crying enough sooner rather than later, you'd have to imagine. But the hards do last quite a long time around here. And here is the battle for the race lead. Hard to call it a battle, to be honest. A truce for the race lead, shall we say. But surely now, surely it's getting closer to the time for Bryn Evans to think about making that move. He's used a bit more of his battery power compared to the last few laps. He's lost some of his advantage, actually, to Igor Araujo. Let's see, will he think about the move this time? On the run down towards Stowe, he's not close enough. He gets closer in the braking zone, braking later. Bryn has been very strong through Stowe all race long. But he's just not close enough in any of the braking zones. And I wonder, maybe this isn't about comfort. Maybe this isn't about maintaining the status quo. Maybe Bryn Evans just can't get close enough to Igor Araujo to try and make that move. You got to feel like a few laps ago he probably could have done. But now, it's rather more difficult. There's the ghosted car of Higgsy up ahead. Hopefully that's not going to do anything to interrupt this battle for the race lead. There you see Igor does get DRS. He got DRS from Higgsy's car there. And as long as Higgsy's car stays ahead, he's going to continue to get DRS. And I'm surprised because Higgsy's car looks like it's still going relatively quickly right now. It's on fresh soft tyres. I don't know what the AI level is set to in this lobby. But this could be a godsend for the Brazilian in the race lead. He's not closing in. Look, you can see it there. Maybe even falling too far away to claim DRS on that Mercedes up ahead. But what a way for someone to have an effect on this race lead battle. No DRS this time for Igor Araujo. You can see him deploying the battery all the way down. Bryn Evans is not doing that. He's holding on for the final lap of this race. And with Igor having got his battery down to 22%, that might be the vulnerability that Bryn Evans needs to try and make the move on Igor Araujo on that final lap. Here we go then. As we head on to the final lap of this race, you can see Top Jack still struggling to keep in touch with these guys, still managing to do it. But he's not close enough, I don't think, to think about making any moves on this final lap. It's all about these two at the very front. Araujo, who leads the way. Bryn Evans, who's been yet to lead in this race so far. He started down in 7th. He has made his way up to 2nd. And now he might be making his way up to 1st. Look how close he is. Through the braking zone of Brooklands. He stays that close into Luffield. But he didn't try and make the move there. He's waiting. It's the perfectionist angle here from Bryn Evans. He's waiting to get the easiest move of his life down and towards Stowe. And is there anything at all that Igor Araujo can do about it? As Narkovic, he's still in contention as well. He could still play spoiler. Look how close they are as they round Beckett's for the final time into Chapel. And Igor Araujo gets a better run out of Chapel. Is that going to be enough? What's it look like from Bryn Evans? He's getting closer. He's reeling him in. Around the outside it'll be. And he goes around the outside and all the way around, and that's Igor Araujo out. He's spun out on the final lap at the final death. But there's Narkovic, who thinks about the move, tries to switch back to the outside. As we head now into the final complex, it's Bryn Evans who's going to lead the way home and win in Silverstone. Narkovic 2nd and Top Jack claiming 3rd in that AlphaTauri. And what a dramatic end to that race. Danico claims 4th on the soft tyres. There's Guiza in 5th. Igor Araujo 6th after that spin in Stowe on the final lap of the race. The camera angle didn't quite catch it. I assume he made contact with the rear inside tyre of Bryn Evans. It seems most likely. And Narkovic was almost in a position to capitalise on it, but he couldn't take the position away from Bryn Evans. After Igor, you have his countryman Fernandez in 7th. Gelbevand, after that spin late on in Cops, he's down in 8th. Yanni Tripkov comes home in 9th to claim 2 points. And Fast beats Kevin to the line to claim P10. Well, Danny Coe being given the driver of the day, started outside the top 10, finished up in 4th at the end there. A good drive from him, for certain, but I'd say Bryn Evans, that's got to be my driver of the day there. You see him there. Fantastic, fantastic race from him. Started 7th on the grid, tactically drove that second stint, pulled off a good undercut as well, did everything he had to claim the race lead at the final time of asking, and then to defend from Narkovic in that last Vale club chicane. Well done to him and to Alpine, and well done to all of our podium sitters. And you got to say, that action on the final lap, that probably just about makes it worthwhile. There was a lot of tense stuff there between the front runners, where they were refusing to fight, refusing to overtake, just sitting there in DRS trains. But at the very end, it all came alive, and Bryn Evans was the one who emerged victorious. So thank you all very, very much for watching, and I apologise for the audio issues with the microphone earlier on. But thank you for letting me know about that, and thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the second half at least of this race. I've been Jacob Hancox. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I will wish you a good evening.